of Guadalupe has an interesting history. She came to a converted native named Don Diego on 4 separate occasions as an apparition. When he tried to tell the Archbishop of Mexico City, he wasn't believed. On the Virgin's last appearance, she had Don Diego gather some Castilian roses and press them inside his cloak. When the cloak was opened and the roses fell away, the imprint of the Virgin was seen on the cloak. Apparently, that was enough to convince the Archbishop and eventually the Catholic Church that a miracle had transpired. Don Diego won sainthood, and the cloak remains on display to this day in Mexico City. Now, the more cynical Mexican tour guides are quick to point out that this may have been but a repackaging of the Spaniards' version of the Virgin Mary, a repackaging into an icon more suited to the local natives. Nonetheless, the Virgin of Guadalupe is also called the Mother of Maguey, the source of the sacred beverage pulque. Pulque is sometimes called the milk of the Virgin. So there you have the origin of the name. The mezcal has always intrigued me. The saying regarding the drink is, para todo mal mezcal, y para todo bien también, for everything bad, mezcal, and for everything good as well. I bought my recipe from an old Mescalero Apache Indian, and the Virgin of Guadalupe quickly became the most famous of all the mezcals. Speculation ran wild. Was it the type of agave that was used? Was it the method of preparation? Did it have to do with the other ingredients? No one knew. Everyone wanted to find out. We had decided to move the Virgin of Guadalupe plant to San Miguel. A few weeks ago, I sent my personal assistant, Vanessa, to San Miguel to rent a villa and to scout out possible sites for the plant and to recruit some talent for our new headquarters. Vanessa drove into San Miguel and started the process. San Miguel's a pretty little city with lots to offer. There's ample commercial space for a plant and many luxurious villas for rent. Vanessa found a nice little place near the central plaza, and it came with a full staff, a maid, a driver, and even a cook. I settled into the place and started going over my briefing papers while Vanessa continued to scout out the location for our factory. San Miguel is a beautiful town, but with interest in my mezcal at a peak, I had to be careful. My briefing papers provided intelligence on people who had expressed an interest in the Virgin of Guadalupe mezcal or its owner. Ternan and French were 2 operatives from the Clooney operation Tres Amigos. They set up a meeting in San Miguel, ostensibly to make a financing offer. 2 French sisters with remarkably American accents said they were looking for jobs in San Miguel. Vanessa, my personal assistant, was the only one I really trusted. I wasn't always sure about that. Today, mezcal is still made from the heart of the agave plant, called the piña, much the same as it was 200 years ago. Recipes vary as to the variety of agave used, and the process used to produce the final product, and of course the other ingredients that are added. Tiernan and French were mercenaries for the Cluny cartel. Their sole mission was to steal the recipe of the Virgin of Guadalupe. What they lacked in brains, they more than made up for in determination.
Okay, Blake, I have an idea. The most interesting man in the world is him. He's got the recipe. We need to steal all the recipe. When? How? When? 2 questions. When? Whenever you want. How? I don't know. You pick.
You're so dumb.
Really? Look, some of my ideas are brilliant. We'll find a way to steal the recipe, okay? Come on, let's steal the recipe. Me and you.
All right.
Tango and Cash.
So-called French sisters were independent operators who saw a big payday for themselves if they could nab the recipe. They saw my assistant, Vanessa, as the weak link.
Listen, I don't trust what's going on here. I hate to tell you this, I'm your best friend, but something is going on. She's not just an apprentice. You're kidding. Something's happening. What is happening? I think she's either a spy or she's using him or perhaps she's the mistress. I don't know.
We need to get to the bottom of this, Olivia. I want to know what is going on with that tart.
I am so excited to work with the most interesting man in the world. I'm going to make mezcal, learn about it, learn how to make it. The proceso is going to be increíble. I cannot wait. I'm going to be the best apprentice ever.
Ian was working both sides of the street. He thought he had a chance to seduce Vanessa and win her over to his side. Since she knew the mezcal recipe, he didn't really need Guillermo anymore, or Chernin for that matter. He set up a meeting with Guillermo, ostensibly to show him a possible factory site up on the mountainside. When Guillermo arrived, Ian put pressure on him for the recipe, with disastrous results.
Got started. And then I said, okay, good, I like the fact that he's scared. So I pushed him a little bit more. He stepped back.
What happened?
What? I know.
What, he fell down on the pavement? What?
Muchos pavement. A grande.
Did you kill him? You know, this wasn't a part of the fucking picture.
I know.
This was not supposed to happen.
I know. But look, I don't know if he's dead yet. He might still be alive. Let's hope. He might still be alive.
Jesus Christ.
It was a big fall, though.
You really fucked up.
I mean, I know, but he might still be alive. We've been partners for a long time.
What happens if he's dead? There goes the recipe.
No.
You better go find
No,
out.
I know, but look, this is the thing. I didn't tell you, but I ran into his assistant. Yeah. He said, Bonita.
You didn't tell her what we were up to.
No, I didn't tell her. But she knows the recipe. Hopefully, maybe the old guys. She's still around.
Yeah, but it's pinned on your head.
Okay, but no, there's no cameras. So I'll find her. Maybe I'll work my charm and maybe I'll get us a recipe after all.
All right.
And I'll be back in your good books.
All right. Well, we have no choice.
As it turns out, there was even less choice than Ternan thought. Ian had run into Vanessa at a restaurant. She didn't know him, but he knew her. Later, he followed her and pretended to meet her on the street. His plan was to get cozy and to ease Tiernan out of the picture.
Esa negra se amaña al sonar de la caña, va cantando sus amores. Esa negra soledad, la que goza mi cumbia. Esa negra sabe mucho y que caramba, con su pollera colorada. Por eso le digo, mi negrita linda, ven pa' acá.
Con su pollera colorada.
Ay, como sandunguea mi negrita soledad.
After those first encounters, Vanessa fell easy prey to Ian. With that connection, he was even more convinced he didn't need Tiernan or Guillermo. who Ian secretly thought he'd already put out of the picture. Ian could easily get the recipe from Vanessa if he had to. Tiernan, unaware of the big picture, continued his surveillance work on the source of Guillermo's agave. The French sisters set up a meeting with Vanessa, hoping to offer her a bribe. Vanessa never showed up. Their next move, the only move left for them, was to find Guillermo and force him to tell his recipe, a plan that had already badly backfired for Ian. After his run-in with Ian, Guillermo became wary of his new acquaintances. Through surveillance tapes, he figured out that Tiernan was connected with Ian. He figured out that Ian had seduced Vanessa and that she might compromise the recipe if she hadn't already. The French sisters had approached Guillermo, but he was highly suspicious of their motives.
Check this out.
Finally, he decided on a bold move.
He's not dead. He's inviting us to his party. I'm off the hook. But he also got a big
He's not
check.
dead, he's not, why is he inviting us to a party?
You got an envelope. Thanks for you. What is it?
It's an invitation to Guillermo's party.
Fancy.
Yeah. I wonder why we got an
That
invitation.
could be interesting.
I think so.
I want to thank you all for responding to my invitation tonight. That was very nice of all of you. Ian, thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
Vanessa, thank you so much for
Always
being
at
here.
your service, Guillermo.
Susan and Olivia, you guys both, thank you so much for coming.
Pleasure.
Responding to the invitation.
Thank you.
And Blake.
Thanks for inviting us.
Now, it's come to my attention that all of you, in one way or another, are interested in my recipe. So, I've invited you here because I've decided to share the recipe. I know you're all interested in that.
Why would you do that?
I'm an old man, Mr. Chairman. As you can see. And I've had a recent accident. Gracias. Once again, our paths have crossed at different times. And I know you've all been very interested in the recipe for this special mezcal. So tonight I thought we would begin with a toast. And I'm going to pour a little bit for each of you. So for all of you,
Yes.
a toast to the recipe
To the rest
I'm about to share.
All right. So this is it. Try it. Try it.
To your
Let's
generosity.
down the hatch.
To your generosity.
So, Ian, you tried to kill me. You tried to push me away.
This is an accident.
And you tried to seduce
me.
my assistant, who's been loyal to me for many, many years.
She's our assistant.
You two, in fact, work for George Clooney, and you're trying to steal this recipe. And Tiernan, I don't think you knew anything about any of this, did you? So, I'm going to tell you all the secret ingredient of my mezcal. It's poison. Hey, Jordan? Yeah. Well, yeah, they all went for it. Yeah. Other plan didn't work, but this one worked out just fine, man. Thanks for the tips. Take it easy. Bests. Bye. That was it. The competition had underestimated me. I had been careful to keep all contacts in San Miguel under surveillance. I knew none of them were to be trusted. They were foolish and greedy enough to take me up on my dinner invitation. They didn't live long enough to regret it. You see, Clooney and his syndicate had already obtained the recipe for the Virgin of Guadalupe. They hired these operatives to kill me, but whether they succeeded or failed was irrelevant. Clooney had figured out the 3 M's. Media means money. Whether they killed me or I killed them, it would make really no difference. And it would make a great marketing story for the best mezcal in the world.